There we go. Hey everybody, we're back. It's kind of a hustle once that alarm goes off because you're dealing with syrup. It's about 265 degrees. And anyway, once we get it off of the burner, we just set it here and give it a stir. And yes, it's still hot. It gets everything hot. So the trick is to drive off all the water. So we just stir this kind of rapidly. You don't treat it gently like you do some of the other products. This one here, you just stir it. It'll foam up and turn to granulated maple sugar. Like I say, you're just driving off all the water. Let it set a minute and see if it starts to foam up. If you can see down in the middle there, it's still boiling because it's that hot. See if I can tilt it over. You see it starting to bubble there. And that tells you that it's still, that's how hot it is. And this is the reason you wear protective clothing, because at 260 some degrees, this gets on you. It does not stop burning until it hits the bone. And you have to be careful. Me talking and trying to do this just doesn't quite work sometimes. So I got to focus. It should be foaming up more. Usually it just bubbles up while you're stirring. Okay, I do know I had the right temperature. And sometimes the syrup acts different. It is a little humid in here today. I've been making the maple citrus vinaigrette, and I do it inside the kitchen because I'm usually not worried too much about humidity. And I thought, well, I got this leftover syrup. I'll just boil that on back up and make some sugar. It's getting a little sticky around the sides. I don't know if you can hear it smacking. But as it gets thicker and cools down some, maybe I went a little too hot. All right, let's get the mitt out from underneath of it. Maybe let that cool down a little quicker. Maybe it'll go ahead and turn to sugar. Usually it just starts right off. Yeah, it's starting to lighten up now. Some batches do take a little longer than others. Let's see around the sides here. Get that scraped down. You can see it starting to turn on this other side. I'll spin that around. That's just where my hand's going while it's stirring. Yeah, that might have been the trick. I don't usually put a pad underneath of it. Let's see what that's doing. Yeah, it's starting to get really lightened up. Yeah, I didn't take into account that it needs to cool off. I just didn't want it to slip around so much when I was trying to stir it. And now I'm stirring a little slower because I'm talking. Now you can see it boil up some. And you just let that foam up. And when you hit it again with the spoon, it just releases pockets of steam. And you can let that almost get up here to the top. You see how it's rising like a cake? That's pretty cool. That's what I was expecting. But I guess keeping that silicone mitt underneath of it held that heat in. That's something I never put anything under it, and I should have thought of that sooner. So you hit that, it goes down, releases that puff of steam. You give it a couple of stirs, rake it off the side. Now we're cooking with gas. And you just repeat process, let it do its own thing. It's a lot easier on you because stirring this, as it thickens up, as that water drives off of it, it gets harder to stir. So we'll get that all stirred up, rake it off the sides. Now whatever sticks to the side, you just add a cup of purified boiling water to the pan after you pour the sugar out and let it sit there about 15 minutes. Everything will dissolve and you'll be able to start over with sugar. Okay, it's about done boiling, so now we just get to stir it. And this takes, sometimes it takes longer than others. That's when you usually set aside quite a bit of time to do batch after batch, because you want to crank out 20-30 pounds at a time, and that means several different pots. Because if I had a great big pot and I was trying to stir it, you just can't. You got to do several little pots. All right, what's going to happen this time? Come on, rise on up. It's doing it, it's just doing it a whole lot slower. I tell you, this here, it got on my coat. I wouldn't want that on my skin. Oh my goodness. But the beauty about maple syrup and sugar and all that, it's pure. You hit it with some hot water and it disappears. All right. Get this dude wrapped up here. Gets really thick, but the water is coming out of the syrup, and it won't be too long. It just start turning to granulated sugar. Of course, it's this long this time. I've had it turn to sugar in a matter of just, it doesn't take long, and I think it has to do, well, I know it does, it has to do with the invert sugars. And I never really checked that. I think you could do it with a glucose meter. There we go. As it cools, I kind of rake it around the side. That helps it cool off. Switch sides. Tell you, it's a workout. And so is making maple butter. Oh my gosh, you do that by hand. One of these days I'll get me a machine to make maple sugar. But right now it's just a bit cost prohibitive. Because that machine is not cheap. It takes a very high horsepower motor to mix this, and some heavy duty mixing blades. To get all this mixed. But those machines would be really nice. If y'all want to crowdfund that, go ahead. Okay, starting to get there. Sometimes it's a whole lot easier than this. And I probably did have a little bit darker syrup than I normally start with, because this is what was rinsed out of the machine with purified water. And then it tends to get a little darker anytime you recook syrup, it just gets darker and darker. Okay. Yeah, you see a burst of steam come out of there. So this is my daily workout. Some of y'all get steps in. Some of us idiots tap maple trees, walk the hills, make products, stir heavy duty stuff like this. Oops. And anytime you work, it does tend to get everywhere, especially when I get in a hurry. Right now it's getting there. I don't want to try to sift it when it's this hot, so I usually keep working it a little bit. Like I say, the heavy stuff, let's pour that back in there, because I don't want big chunks in with what I'm sifting. Get some of these chunks up. That's why you keep everything clean. The stuff that hits the floor, that's just gone. I don't like that. The rest of it is mine. All right, that's how we make granulated sugar. Just keep stirring that and working it. Let it cool off. I still see puffs of steam coming out of it. I don't know if it shows up on the camera. Yeah, it took a little bit longer than I wanted to. I'll pour a little bit of that in there. There we go. Try to keep it all on the table. And we just work this back and forth. Sift it out. I'll throw the bigger chunks back in there and keep working them. Try to break them down before they just completely cool off. And there you have what you buy in the shaker or the 1 pound bag. You have granulated maple sugar. And we'll get some more of this stuff sifted in here. Once it dries out, it's a lot easier to stir. I was just trying to break some of that off the sides. Some of that there, you couldn't chisel off with a jackhammer. But you pour a cup of purified boiling water in here, put the lid on it and let it sit. That'll all dissolve right back into sugar. All these chunks right here, they're starting to get a little too hard to break. If you can break them by fingers, then it's all right. But sometimes it'll get just like a rock candy. Hey, first time I had rock candy, my mom took me to, I believe it was Mammoth Cave, and they had somebody made rock candy down there. I was probably 9 years old. Then again, my memory may not always serve me too well. It may have been to the Smokies. I know we had some there. We had taffy there too, but I was a lot older. So I'm pretty sure Mammoth Cave, that was about the first trip that I remember my mom taking me on. Gosh, we took a lot of trips. Yeah, that pan is still really, 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 really hot. You got to be careful with this. So we'll get this sifted up, and we're going to call it good because I got this vinaigrette to finish up. And this took me probably 10 minutes longer than I wanted to. And it's like these dark pieces here. Right now I'm still crushing them, and as soon as you do, they just turn to almost like a powdered sugar. And you don't want to shove them through the screen. It don't tend to work out. But right there, that's why you get a mix of sugar when you buy either the 1 pound or the 6-ounce shaker. And we're going to call that good right there because I got to get with it. But that's how we make 100% pure granulated maple sugar here at South Four Farms in Scottsville, Kentucky. And that'll be in a shaker before you know it. Y'all have a great day. Bye.